Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Topic. This week, yet again, I'm burdened with glorious purpose. I'm Alex.
And this week, I'm time slipping into all kinds of time. I'm Dan.
And we are this week talking about Loki Season 2, Dan.
It's fabulous.
It definitely is. Spoiler alert, I really enjoyed it.
So did I.
Not a lot happens though, which I think in itself is testament to just how good it's been written and directed and casted. Because in comparison to the first season, of course, we have done a season review of the first season. I'll put a link in the description below. We like that. Very enjoyable. Tom Hiddleston was phenomenal. Is phenomenal. Continues to be.
And is a handsome bastard.
And they travel all across the world in different locations, different planets, different times. This one, not so much.
No.
Mainly the TVA. But that's not a bad thing because it's all story, no filler, and it's really good.
Yeah. I want to talk about the first episode in a minute as we're sort of going through. But I felt like it set the stakes very high from very early on. But then I suppose as a continuation of season 1, you had to.
You had to. And I think this is an interesting kind of state of play for Marvel generally in Phase 5.
Yeah.
And the TV series generally. I mean, we talked about the Marvels and Miss Marvel in the last episode.
We did.
You know, we enjoyed her antics in her solo effort and in the film. This is by far, I think, the best streaming effort the MCU have put out so far.
Does it beat Falcon and the Winter Soldier for you?
Yeah.
Ooh, bold. Because we were both fans of that. Very good.
I enjoyed it. This is better. But I mean, look, we're going to explain exactly why we think it's better in just a couple of moments, and we'll give you the usual breakdown. But look, are we going to do a spoiler klaxon?
We probably shouldn't we?
It's quite close to the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's look. If you haven't, as per usual, you know the drill by now, guys. If you listen to an OTT episode, if you haven't seen it, put us on pause, go watch it, and then come back and you can be part of the conversation. We don't want to spoil anything for you, but if you're still going to be around, you have been warned. Here is the spoiler klaxon.
Sounds as beautiful as ever, doesn't she?
She certainly does. It's only been a mere couple of weeks since we last heard it.
It has. We've had a week out. It's been your birthday. What have you been up to?
Oh, not an awful lot, Dan.
Oh.
Sat in my pants, watched lots of films, finished Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation.
Beautiful.
It is a really good game. That's about it, really.
Oh.
Happy days.
Sounds like my kind of birthday. Though,
yeah, it's quiet.
Lounged around in my pants, watching Netflix.
It's the way forward, I tell you. Peace and quiet, no fuss, just enjoying a bit of entertainment. That's what it's all about.
Got to be done.
Yeah.
We haven't really done a catch-up for a while, but then we are literally watching the same things.
We are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've watched which perhaps you haven't. I finished Lupin.
Oh, yes.
Lupin season 3?
Yeah, I think it's season 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. Omar Sy. If not too sure who he is, he's, I guess, a supporting role next to Chris Pratt in the Jurassic World.
Yeah, of course.
Franchise.
Good actor.
He's the other trainer who's in the first film. I don't think we've seen him in the second, but we've seen him in the third, in the bazaar in that city. I can't remember which one it was based in.
The one where the guy on the scooter gets chomped.
Yeah. Is it Malta?
Yeah. I think once that is.
So he's there. He's really good though, Omar. He's that film does him injustice. Like he's so charismatic. I mean, he's speaking his native tongue, French, but it's such a good TV program. A lot of people, understandably, just want to sit back and relax. They don't want to work hard, and sometimes watching a subtitled program can be a little bit of homework, a little bit of hard work. At the end of the day, but it's worth it, and it's all about a gentleman thief who's a lovable rogue. And yeah, just it's a bit like Jonathan Creek. I think I mentioned this before.
Yeah,
back in the 90s.
We're a big fan of Jonathan Creek.
100%. Although I don't think they've aged very well.
No, I mean the older ones were quite good, and as it sort of went on, they would spoil the ending for you at the beginning, which was odd.
No, definitely. I think they They brought it back and it kind of didn't really work. But yeah, the OG ones were phenomenal. This is a little bit like that, and it's I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So I can highly recommend Lupin.
Lovely.
Anything that you've seen?
No, but I have got something lined up. I've got something planned. So ahead of the OTT Awards next week.
Oh yeah.
Me and the missus can do a back-to-back Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Okay. Yes.
And is it going to
As
make...
it was intended.
As it going to make... As it?
As it? As
That
it
makes no sense. Poor English. Is it going to make the OTT Awards?
Well, we don't know
will
until
see.
we see it. I haven't seen it, but I'm keen to hear what you think.
I'll keep you posted.
What's that, 5 hours worth of content?
It's got to be. But so we've got nothing in for this weekend. Just going to be wrapping Christmas presents and watching crap.
Sounds lovely.
Well, the two films aren't crap, really. Or are they?
They've won awards?
I don't know.
They've won awards.
I'm sure they have, yeah.
I think Oppenheimer probably has. Well, it's Nolan. He wins all the
Yeah.
awards.
So yeah, watching those two films and probably watching wrestling.
Magic.
But we should probably dive in. Let's
Yes.
talk about Loki.
Loki season 2. So give an overview. Tom Hiddleston.
Yep.
He reprised his role as Loki from the series, starring alongside Sophia Di Martino, who actually grew on me this time around. Didn't like her in the first season.
But you liked her this time.
Very much so.
Mm.
Now I remember why I leave you to do this. Wunmi Musaku.
Yeah,
I think that sounded pretty good.
No, you nailed it.
Who's Hunter B-15. She's brilliant, actually. Again, I didn't particularly... I wasn't a fan of her in the first season. This season, I think, because she's always on the side of Loki,
Yeah.
I think you see more of her warm side. And she was also in Luther, season, I want to say 2 or 3.
I think you're right, yeah.
She's brilliant in that. So anyway, I have a lot of love for her. Eugene Cordero, Neil Ellis, Owen Wilson, of course, as Mobius, who's brilliant. Juju Mbatha-Raw as Renslayer. Tara Strong as Miss Minutes. And Jonathan Majors, of course, alongside Raphael Casal, Kate Dickey, Liz Carr, Ki-Hai Kwan, who is Obi.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Such a good addition. Total left field, didn't even expect it to happen. And where's he been all our lives?
I'll give you my thoughts on that after we've gone through the episodes. But yeah, phenomenal. Liz Carr, also, she was in Silent Witness for many years on BBC.
Oh, right.
That's where I recognise her from. She's a very good actress.
They got Richard Dixon. Now, development on the second season had begun by November 2020, as we know that's height of COVID, and was confirmed in July 21 with Martin, Benson and Moorhead all hired by February 22. Now, they began filming last summer at Pinewood, which is, if any film is going to take place in the UK, it's going to be Pinewood, and
Always.
concluded in October. And Dan DeLiu and Kasara Farahani were revealed as additional directors for the season this summer. Released on the 5th of October this year and ran for 6 episodes until the 9th of November as part of the Phase 5 of the MCU.
Yep. Synopsis. The second season sees Loki working with Mobius M. Mobius, Hunter B-15 and other members of the Time Variance Authority. He's flicking rubber bands at me, ladies and gents.
My bad.
To navigate the multiverse in order to find Sylvie, Ravonna Renslayer and Miss Minutes. The season is produced by Marvel Studios with Eric Martin serving as head writer and Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead leading the directing team. Good team it is.
Very good team.
I don't know who they are, but they did a good job.
Phenomenal.
So let's dive in. Let's talk about the episodes. Episode 1. Stakes are set high here. Episode 1 is Ouroboros. I think I've got that right.
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yep.
It's a good job I changed that to OBs every time I go for each episode.
I think that's the reason why they did it.
In the past, the Time Variance Authority attempts to apprehend Loki while he is uncontrollably warping across time in their headquarters.
It looks really painful.
It does.
Really horrible.
He plays it really well, doesn't he, Tom Hiddleston? Every time he sort of flips in and out, he's like, oh.
I'd like to know, though, what the director said. Like, when they said, right, this is what's going to happen to you. We need to do loads of different cuts of you kind of morphing and being torn into space and time. And he's horrible to look at.
He looks pained. He's sweating.
It's horrible. Which is brilliant. It's so good.
In the present, Loki reunites with Mobius and warns him of the threat posed by the many variants of He Who Remains, the TVA's creator. Concurrently, TVA General Docs has several TVA hunters arm themselves, ostensibly to find Sylvie, who has caused the sacred timeline to branch after killing He Who Remains.
Oops.
So the multiverse is out of control.
It
apparently.
is. Branches everywhere.
All over the gaff. Loki and Mobius meet TVA technician Obi. See, that's what I've done.
Yeah,
there.
I see what you
Changed
did
it to
there.
Obi.
Yeah.
Who deduces that Loki is time slipping, a phenomena possibly caused by branching timelines dangerously overloading the temporal loom.
Now, I thought this is, I mean, if you're not familiar with sci-fi, it might be a difficult concept, but as he's talking to Obi and he's slipping in and out of this conversation, like he's going back hundreds of years in the TVA where he first meets Obi, not in the present when he first meets Obi, but goes back in the past and says, right, I'm going to talk to you in the future, this is what I need from you. And then he's having like part conversations in the past and
so
then in the
clever.
present, and then as he's in the present, Obi in the present is being caught up on kind of what happened in the past. It's like, oh yeah, I wrote this down for you. It's like, cool, yeah. And then he goes back to the past, like, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z to do this. And then he gets pulled back to the present, and he's like, oh yeah, and I've got this for you. And he's just met him, or you're just seeing the first meeting, but obviously in the past, it's just happened. I can't really describe it. If you haven't seen it, it's really odd to kind of follow my train of thought, but it's really clever.
Whoever wrote that gave that some good thought process.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing you'd want to do, right?
That'll take weeks just to think about how you'd even portray that on screen. It looked so good and made so much sense, which is quite a difficult subject. Not to condescend to anyone, but time travel is, and then how that impacts the future is, and then how you then have the past side by side with the present, and how one informs the other in real time. I mean, the mind just blows, but it's so good. It's so clever.
Oh, me and the missus have had many arguments over Back to the Future and how there's apparently two DeLoreans in the same timeline, but there can't be, because when you see one, the other one's going back in time, so it's on the same time.
Yeah, but one
line.
ends, the other one finishes, and it's like a infinite loop.
But I've tried to explain that, but no, there's still two. I will never argue with her. She's always right.
But not in this case. But you won't tell her.
I won't tell her.
But she can hear this.
You're 100% right, love.
I think there's going to be some stern words after this.
Oh, yes. To save Loki, Obi instructs Mobius to approach the temporal loom with the temporal aura extractor. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Device to extract Loki from the time stream as Loki prunes himself. I mean, that looks painful as well.
Unexpected as well.
Loki time slips to the future where the TVA is being evacuated as the loom goes critical. He encounters Sylvie before he is pruned by someone at the last minute. I wonder who that was.
Yeah.
In the present, Mobius successfully pulls Loki from the time stream, but they set out to find Sylvie. And this is the only mid-credit scene we actually get.
I did wonder, because I think I just about nearly missed this. And thought, no, when you fast forward to the end, you can see it. So I played it, but every other episode afterwards, I fast forwarded, and there's no post credits.
No, this was the only one, and this is where we see Sylvie enter Branch timeline in Broxton, Oklahoma, 1982, and visits a McDonald's restaurant.
Yum.
I'm all about that chicken nugget life.
Yeah, man.
Chicken nugget chasers with your cheeseburger.
FTW.
For the win.
Yep.
Episode 2, Breaking Brad. I want to say Breaking Bad then. Breaking Brad. Loki, Mobius and Hunter B-15 find and capture Hunter X5 in London 1977, the year of punk. On the sacred timeline, where he lives as film actor Brad Wolfe. Under interrogation, he admits to abandoning Doctor's mission and reveals Sylvie's location.
Now, I really enjoyed this this whole scene setup because, well, we don't live too far from London. It's quite nice to be able to walk around there. And I remember when they were filming this time, was it last year? And there were scenes of shutting down Leicester Square, and it's not far from Leicester Square, I think, where this was filmed. Yeah, I was up there recently, and it's like, oh yeah, I know where that is. That's cool. And it was a really cool scene anyway to be able to see. It's obviously something that you're familiar with in settings. But I think for me, it's also the first time you see properly his magic being used.
Yes.
You don't really see that much in the first season because I think, did they depower him? I can't remember the first season, but I think that's what happens.
He couldn't use his magic in the TVA.
No. But in this one, he duplicates himself, and it's, again, very well choreographed. And but that's where you're like, oh, actually, yeah, he does have powers. He's not just a god in title. Actually, he can do stuff.
He can.
But you kind of forget, don't you? Because Tom Hiddleston doesn't need to rely upon CGI because his charisma is almost his power.
Yep.
But yeah, you're like, oh yeah, he's got powers and he can do trick of hands and sleight of hand stuff. That's the first time we properly see it in full action.
And his eyes glowing green.
They do.
It's very good.
Very good.
Meanwhile, Obi attempts to repair the loom to safely accommodate the branching timelines, but discovers he cannot access it without the help from the missing Miss Minutes, or He Who Remains Aura. Loki, Mobius and Wolf travel to Oklahoma and find Sylvie working in a McDonald's. Loki tells her of their encounter and the TVA's future and asks for her assistance to figure out what would happen, but Sylvie refuses to involve herself with the organisation. She's done. She's had enough.
She has.
She's done her bit. She killed Kang, or He Who Remains.
She's out.
She's done. After Wolf proclaims the group is in mortal danger, Sylvie enchants him, forcing him to reveal Dox's plan to simultaneously destroy the branching timelines with reset charges. And I think this is kind of where we learn that Sylvie doesn't want to prune these timelines. She doesn't want to end all these lives, which kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Sending Wolf back into custody, Loki, Mobius and Sylvie capture Dox, but her plan has largely succeeded and some of her loyalists have escaped, of course. As TVA receptionist Casey tracks the rogue Ravonna Renslayer's tempad on one of the remaining branching timelines, Sylvie declares that the TVA is rotten and returns to McDonald's with He Who Remains' tempad in her possession.
Oh, yes.
Episode 3. 1983. Oddly, for the title, we actually start in Chicago back in 1868.
We do.
Where we find Miss Minutes and Renslayer in Chicago to secretly drop the TVA handbook to a young Victor Timely, a variant of He Who Remains, who had arranged this before his death.
Clever little plan, this. I really enjoyed setting up almost the origins of, dare I say it, the Prime Kang?
Yeah.
Such a thing, because that's effectively what Victor Timely was. Now, whether the events of this series effectively rewrites that, it doesn't exist.
No.
But is that in the Prime timeline, or does Victor Timely still exist in a branched one? Who knows? But he was one of my favourite iterations of Majors' character.
Yeah.
Because again, Kang looks so different and can vary so much. I mean, even if you look at the end of was it Quantum Mania?
Yes.
All the counts of the Kangs. I think we said in that review just how much fun Majors was having playing Kang, and at the end how they all come together, the various different kinds all in one place. And Victor Timely, I think for me, is just a great take on it. It's entirely unique but similar.
He doesn't sort of feel evil, does he?
No.
He's very sort of meek. He's got a stutter.
Naive, but also wants to help.
But also very clever.
Yeah, and I wonder whether we'll see a version where he ends up following that natural route and progression to a point where he becomes jaded and murderous. I don't know, that'd be really interesting. Or perhaps the Kang we've seen in Quantumania isn't derived from Timely, I don't know. But anyway, I really loved it. I think it was, again, expertly portrayed by Majors. Aside, of course, from what's going on outside of this, his personal life. If you just looked at his acting ability, it's very good. And this is my favourite version of Kang so far.
Got to wonder, though, has he got a future in the MCU?
We found out in a couple of weeks.
Is it a couple of weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the facts, so it'd be unfair for me to speculate or to say otherwise. But if I was Disney, I'd have some plan Bs and something in the back pocket, especially as a lot of their projects can have reshoots. I mean, they're only going to have next year Deadpool.
Yeah, that's it.
So
could be a good thing, really, when you look at the MCU in the future. If
I was to be cynical, I think that's probably why they've done it. They need to build themselves some time and space if they need to do reshoots and rewrites of scripts to make it Doom, because Doom was Secret Wars anyway. Instead of of Kang, you can. That'd be very smart.
You'll think Captain America 4's wrapped as well.
Yes, but again, they're changing titles here and there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a Kang-related piece of work. I think that's street level.
Yeah, hopefully addresses the whole Eternal. Just
nah, they still won't.
No,
I bet you. I bet you.
We can only hope.
Yeah. Victor Timely travelled to 1983 Chicago's welfare.
Yep. On this branch timeline, where Loki and Mobius arrive, tracking Renslayer's tempad and see Timely presenting his temporal loom prototype. Timely then has 4 groups chasing him. 4 people. 4 lots of people.
Isn't he lucky?
I wish I was that loved. Loki and Mobius, who need his aura to fix the loom. Renslayer and Miss Minutes, who want him to take his variant's place with them at his side. Sylvie, who wants to just kill him to prevent his rise to power, and a robber baron and his allies wanting revenge against Timely's fake invention scam. He's a scammer.
He's a scam
He's
artist.
an actual scammer in this timeline.
I love it.
Timely abandons Renslayer for proposing a partnership at Timely's Wisconsin laboratory. He turns Miss Minutes off after she professes romantic love for him.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
It's kind of weird.
She's crazy.
She's batshit crazy, as we find out later on.
She gonna get him.
Renslayer, Loki, Mobius and Sylvie arrive, with Sylvie gaining control. Sylvie allows Loki to take Timely back to the TVA, then sends Renslayer to the Citadel at the end of time, with Miss Minutes being brought along. They see He Who Remains' decaying corpse. It's kind of bleak, as Miss Minutes reveals that she knows a secret about Renslayer.
I've got a bleak question for you, Dan and listener. If they are at the end of time, does time pass as it does normally? And if it doesn't, and time knows no limits at the end of time, and one would suspect so because He Who Remains has always been there, by the very nature of his title, why is his body decaying?
Good point.
Because time hasn't passed, so surely decay hasn't set in?
That is a really bleak question.
A really bleak question.
I have no answers.
But I remember watching and going, it depends on obviously when they've landed there, but clearly they're trying to identify that it's been a period of time has passed, which is ironic given it's the end of time. Because, again, if you're just thinking, if you're at the end of time, how can time progress past that point? But it is, and it's progressing at a point constantly. It can't be at the end.
No.
He should be decaying.
It's weird.
It's gross.
One thing I did like about this episode as well was when they duke it out on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun to watch. Good fight sequence.
Good little... It's not a continuous one shot, but it's very well put together and, yeah, really enjoyable.
Good choreography.
Very much so. Especially with all different groups all chasing him. Yeah.
Episode 4, The Heart of the TVA. This is the dark episode, I think. Miss Minutes reveals that in the past, Renslayer commanded He Who Remains' as army. He proposed to lead the TVA with Renslayer, then had Miss Minutes erase the memories of Renslayer and other TVA employees.
Oh yeah, this is bleak, isn't it? Yeah.
Dodgy. As the temporal loom reaches catastrophic failure, Loki and his allies attempt to use Timely and Obi's throughput multiplier to mix it. Obi reveals that the source of his knowledge is Timely himself in an ontological paradox.
Come again?
Ontological.
Oh, right.
No, I got it right. Which is unusual. I've been on that red wine again.
But it seems to be doing its its job. Just having a look at what that means. Continue talking. I'll try and find out if I can find it.
Ontological.
Yeah, that one means.
Renslayer and Miss Minutes attempt to take over the TVA, approaching the detained Wolf, Docs and her loyalists for help. Not only Wolf agrees, Docs and her loyalists instead choose to be crushed to death by Miss Minutes. And it's really bleak.
Yeah, they're in the box, aren't they? And it's just, it's horrible.
I mean, Miss Minutes looks crazed. Like, she is looking on with joy.
She's loving it.
It's disturbing. That's probably the right word to use. It's very, very disturbing. Wolf prunes Hunter D90 and kidnaps Timely. While staging a rescue, Sylvie and Loki encounter his time-slipping past self, where Loki prunes himself from the past.
This is interesting, and I was looking up ontological paradox, also called bootstraps paradox. I'm sure there's a reason for the bootstrap. But a bootstrap paradox is a kind of paradox in which information or a person or an object sent back in time creates an infinite loop where the person or the object has no observable origin. In other words, it behaves as though it has no origin. It's also called the ontological paradox. Apparently, the bootstrap paradox takes its name from an expression that dates back to 1834 to pull oneself over a fence by one's bootstraps, which came to represent the idea of performing a ludicrous or impossible task. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's something new.
Yeah, the name is derived from the idea of pulling yourself up from your own bootstraps, which of course is impossible. But nonetheless, in here, apparently it is.
Obi deactivates Miss Minutes. Good, because she's crazy.
She's batshit.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And the TVA's magic suppressing devices. This enables Sylvie to enchant Wolf, controlling him to prune Renslayer.
Yeah, I enjoyed that sequence as well.
So
that was
good.
very well done.
Rescued Timely restores access to the loom, and when he approaches the loom, the increased temporal radiation spaghettifies him.
This was absolutely bleak AF.
Yeah.
I think it was spoiled because I saw some stuff on social media before I saw the episode, but it's on par. You have it in the next episode. But it's on par with the snapping.
Yeah, it's quite. I mean, they don't turn to dust. They literally turn like strings of.
It's Dr. Fantastic, Mr. Fantastic. Sorry, I misspoke.
Where he gets screwed up in.
And he turns to
Multiverse.
spaghetti in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse Madness.
Like that.
Same difference. It's really bleak,
Painful.
horrible. Poof.
Yeah.
It's
So-
trans spaghetti.
Strand spaghetti. Before he can put the throughput multiplier to be launched in the big open zone where it's all radiated and
That'll do.
yeah.
I like your scientific speak. It works.
Let's just explain everything away with science.
Because
We're bringing
science.
it back.
Yeah.
The temporal loom explodes and the blast wave spreads towards Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, B-15, Casey and Obi and the TVA. Is that where it ends? It goes white and you're like, oh shit. Like,
That's it.
oh.
Yeah. It's really well done.
It was quite a big cliffhanger. It's probably the best cliffhanger we've actually had because people were going mad on social media. Some of the groups I was in, they were like, oh my God. Like,
It's the end.
and then, of course, you start to get all the different theories, and I was like, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much.
Just let it
Just in
happen.
case.
This science stroke fiction is my favourite episode. And there's one particular moment which I'll talk about in a second, which I think is the standout for me.
Awesome. Loki survives the explosion, but everyone else has vanished, and the TVA headquarters spaghettifies. Everything's been turned into spaghetti. Where's the bolognese? I'm hungry. Loki escapes as he begins time slipping again, taking him to branched timelines where his friends Mobius, Hunter B-15, Casey and OB were reset to their original lives as Don, Dr. Verity Willis, Frank Morris and Dr. A.D. Doug, respectively. Wanting to time slip to before the explosion, Loki enlists Doug's help. With Loki unable to control his time slipping, Doug proposes Loki gather everyone present at the explosion back together so that their collective temporal aura can send them back to the right time and place.
Makes sense.
Doug builds a tempad using a TVA handbook that Loki kept. Loki succeeds in gathering everyone else to Doug's workshop except Sylvie, who has retained her memories.
Now, who have we seen who has an interesting background and we finally see it pay off from that group?
Was it Doug?
No, but he was in the Prison Break, wasn't he? Was he the Prison Break?
Yes. Oh, no, that was... yeah, I think you're right. Was it Doug?
No, I'm talking about Mobius as Dom.
Oh, Mobius, yes.
He actually sells jet skis.
Literally sells jet skis.
That is cool. Because he talks
He's
about
loving life, isn't he?
It goes back to the first season. It's like, I always want to ride a jet ski. They look like the majestic devices on the water, whatever he describes it as. And we finally know why. Because actually, in his timeline, he is a jet ski salesman. And I love it. So good.
Refusing to help, Sylvie makes Loki admit his true motivation. And he actually admits he just wants his friends back.
It's really sad.
And fears being alone.
Yeah.
When everything in Sylvie's timeline spaghettifies, she goes to help Loki.
That is my favourite part of the whole season.
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
She goes into... It's in
like
Oklahoma.
a record shop,
it's a record shop. She gets out an LP, which is the Velvet Underground, and the song is Oh Sweet Nothing. And I've played it a couple of times on my radio show because it's so good. It's mellow and it's chilled, and she just wants to sit down on the sofa, put a record on inside this shop, and just listen to it. And as the record plays, the world around her starts to spaghettify.
Yeah, it starts from like the
she doesn't know
front shop.
Yeah, and the glass, and it slowly makes its way in. She doesn't know. She's just enjoying the music, and the music is all you could hear. Because of course you're in her point of view, so she can't hear anything because the music is just enveloping everything. And it's almost like explosions are going off or the chaos, but she can't hear, just this music playing. And it's kind of like a juxtaposition because it's the chilled kind of smoky vibe of this lovely track by this band in the 70s, but outside of which is oblivious, this is absolute carnage. And it's so jarring that you've got those two different aspects. By the way, I'm not going to get too poetic listening down, but I just want to say that I think that's just absolutely brilliant TV making, filmmaking, just to put those two together. And sure enough, when the whole place basically evaporating, she takes it off, and again it's silence because the world basically doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's brilliant.
So she uses the £10 and gets out there. But for me, that should win awards. It's so clever. It's brilliant in terms of how it looks. The CGI is not too bad. VFX, the song choice, the casting, it all just sings perfect harmony into... It's not a very long sequence, 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Talking of awards, I think Loki is up for some awards.
Too bloody right.
I can't remember what award ceremony it is, but the miss said Tom Hiddleston's up for Best Actor. Who plays Sylvie, sorry?
Oh, DiMatteo.
Yeah. She's
Sophia.
up for Best Supporting Actress. Yeah. And Ki-Hai Kwan is up for Best Supporting Actor.
It is his time again since 1985. I'm telling you.
So good. So I'll get onto that in a minute. However, Doug's workshop also spaghettifies, as do Frank, Doug, Don, Willis and Sylvie. Loki finally controls his time slipping by focusing on a person. Declaring that he can rewrite the story, Loki time slips to before the explosion by focusing on Obi. And
I think the beginning of this next sequence is really funny because it's almost like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's like, right, I need to go through this. Does it work? No. Go back. Does it work? No. Go back. And he's trying to shave off time to speed things up to get the outcome. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but there's then called episode 6 Glorious Purpose, which of course is how you come full circle.
Loki time slips to the moment before the temporal loom's explosion. Despite his attempts, the loom ultimately fails to accommodate the infinite branches. Loki slips to the moment before Sylvie kills He Who Remains, who tells Loki that the loom is a fail-safe. Overloading it protects the sacred timeline by deleting the branches along with the TVA.
And it's almost like this conversation was always there. He just never did the right sequence to kind of trigger it. And because he's paused time, and time is like, yeah, I know you've done this. We've had this conversation before, right? Like, you know what I'm about to tell you. It's like, oh shit, he has always known. Even in his death, he knew what the outcome was, and he was always in control. And I think it's almost like wow moment. Like, even one season on, this guy still knows what's going to happen 2 or 3 steps ahead. Yeah. Even when he's not around. And again, such clever writing that it's almost quite chilling, because he's long since apparently decaying, which shouldn't be a thing at the end of time. But even from death, he's still calling the shots. That's super cool.
It's great as well, because you get so many different fight sequences of him trying to beat Sylvie.
Yes.
And He Who Remains always dies.
Yeah. But it's because he lets it.
Yeah.
Because he knows that actually he'll live on in a different... it's so clever. So clever.
He actually suggests that Loki kills Sylvie to save the loom. And of course Loki, he won't do it.
Can't do it.
I mean, a different Loki might have done. But this is another Loki that, in a quick space of time, he's grown. He's sort of become that Loki from, Ragnarok, sort of post-Ragnarok.
Yeah. He's found himself again.
After consulting Mobius and Sylvie at different moments in time, Loki replaces Timely in approaching the loom. Loki destroys the loom, magically rejuvenates the dying timelines, and rearranges them into a tree-like structure, committing himself to oversee the branches alone at the end of time.
Very sombre, sad moment. He says he knows what he needs to do. He needs to be the god that he needs to be. And actually, arguably, he's actually the most powerful god of all of Asgard.
He is.
He's not just a god of little old Midgard, an Avenger. He's bigger than that. He's a god of freaking stories.
Yeah.
Of time. And that's... You can't get much better than that.
We go back to episode 5 where he says, I just want to be with my friends. Ultimately, he's alone. It's a sad end.
It really is. But he knows what he needs to do, and it is a sacrifice. And I think, again, you hit the nail on the head where he's kind of gone back to Infinity War, where he knows what he needs to do, and he sacrificed himself for his brother. Well, he had much of a choice in time of Thanos anyway, but he laid himself down in order for other people to succeed. He's kind of given up his friends and everything he knows so that the whole existence can continue. And I think that's poetic for that character, and comes full circle. As you say, he's developed, but ultimately he's got what he always wanted, but at quite a significant self-sacrifice.
Apparently the tree-like structure, a lot of people are theorising that it's the Yggdrasil tree.
Yes, I think it's supposed to draw on that. Yeah.
So anyone that unfamiliar with the Yggdrasil tree, it's a Norse reference. It's an immense and central sacred tree in Norse cosmology. Around it exists all else, including the 9 worlds.
Yeah,
the 9 realms.
Odin talks about it at length in The Dark World.
Yes, he does.
Whether you like that film or hate it, he describes the story or explains the story to Jane Foster as she's taken back to Asgard after she is, I guess, mortally wounded.
Yes, with the
ether.
The ether, yeah. I can't remember what stone it is now. We're well beyond that.
Red one. Yeah, anyway.
Reality stone.
Yes, it is Reality stone. He explains it in there, so by all means, unpopular opinion, I still like that film.
You like Thor 2?
I like Thor 2.
It's alright.
I think it's what it needs to be. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's in the first 20 minutes. So go give it a watch.
I feel like the villain of Dirty, though. I've forgotten his name now. The Dark Elf.
Oh, yeah.
Malekith. Did him a day. He's a really good villain in the comics.
Yes.
Sets up the War of the Realms, which is a phenomenal storyline. I'm sure I've mentioned it in previous episodes, but if anyone gets a chance, go get that omnibus.
Yeah, it's very good.
Beauty.
Yeah.
The TVA now tracks He Who Remains as variants across the growing branches, with Mobius reporting one variant being stopped at Earth 616's adjacent realm. Now, are we referring to Ant-Man?
And Quantumania.
B-15 becomes one of the TVA's leaders. Obi reactivates a now friendly Miss Minutes. Where actually, I think someone says, she's not going to go batshit crazy again, is she? And he's like, he just shrugs his shoulders.
Which resets her, so eventually she probably will do.
He also goes on to write a new TVA handbook with Timely as the co-author.
Lovely.
In one timeline, Timely did not receive the TVA handbook in 1863. So you got to wonder, what's this Kang going to become? Renslayer awakens in the void and encounters Alioth.
Yeah.
We don't quite see what her impending doom is.
Well, you say that, but in the background, did you notice what was there?
No, you'll have to tell me.
Pyramid.
Oh.
There's suggestions that it's the Kang variant who's the Pharaoh. Pharaoh Kang.
Oh, okay.
And they're suggesting that she might end up escaping and partnering with that Kang that we actually see at the end of Quantumania as one of the leading three.
Of course, yeah.
But that might be a stretch. Just could be that there's all manner of strange things. But I did see that. It's just before or just after it. I can't remember which is where you see her. I think it's before because obviously the scene finishes on it panning away from her and she sees Alioth. But that's what some are suggesting. I think it's the end of the character. I don't think they need to continue it more.
No.
But that's not the first and the last time I said that, no doubt.
Where did we get to?
Mobius retires, Dan.
Mobius retires from the TVA. He and Sylvie observe Don and his children from afar.
Bittersweet.
It really is. And that's where we end season 2. I can't see there being a season 3, but does Loki return at any point, do you think?
There's suggestions, but of course it's all going to be speculation from now on, is that he's in next year's Deadpool.
Oh, fabulous.
I mean, everyone's in next year's Deadpool.
Including an old Sabretooth from X-Men 2000, apparently.
And lots more that I will refuse to mention because no doubt spoil it, but because... Do I say this? Technically, we did do the spoiler klaxon.
We did.
I haven't talked to you about this. I'll do it. There's TVA agents on set with Reynolds.
Amazing.
But whether or not that's any indication of, is a Mobius there? What time does will B-15 be there? Will we have Loki turn up? Who knows? But the TVA are on point. That film's going to be absolutely crazy, Dan.
It's going to be it's got to be about time travel, right? It's got to happen.
It's incursion time. Time is going to be everything.
I mean, we already know incursions are happening. It's been teased in Multiverse of Madness.
The Marvels.
It's
happened.
It's been teased.
Worlds collide.
We're heading towards a soft reset, ladies and gentlemen.
Probably needs it, though.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. has already said he won't come back as Iron Man, and I reckon he will if the money's right.
Of course he will. What's he done since? I know he's doing lots of philanthropy, but
Oppenheimer.
All right, but he's not the lead.
And Feige has also said he won't magically undo the snap from Iron Man,
and nor should you.
Just takes away the meaning, doesn't it?
But then you could always have a quick cameo from a different incursion universe. Or he's the AI voice of the next. Who knows? Yeah. I don't see him parting ways.
So on to likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
Loved Ki Hai Kwan as Obi. I felt he was fantastic. He fits in well, actually, with quite a big name cast, and he never really sort of felt out of place or lost in amongst that.
No, I agree.
He really holds himself like it's just phenomenal. Very quirky.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think he complemented the cast perfectly, and I think he was a great addition. As the series was continuing, I was thinking, he can't be that nice. Is there something wrong with him? Is he a baddie? He's not. He's generally a good guy. And as you say, his quirkiness, I think, was just perfect for the TVA. And you're right. I think he was one of the shining stars of this one.
Yeah, I also put the not so happy ending is a very comic book ending. We get these quite a lot throughout time of Marvel comics. We mentioned it earlier. Loki wanted the outcome for him to be with his friends again, because he's probably not had that many through his life.
No.
He's made more enemies than friends. He lost his brother, he's lost his family, and here we are. He's now stuck at the end of time on his jack.
Yeah,
which is quite sad, but those are my likes, and I'm probably sure there's more. But have you got any?
Yeah, I mentioned about the scenes, the spaghettifying with Lady Loki. Oh, it's just so good. And Victor Timely, I think, was just my favourite variant so far. So well done. Again, just showing the sheer breadth and ability of Jonathan Majors. Again, a brand new version. It's the 4th or 5th outing now for Majors? And he makes it fresh, makes it new, but so familiar. And to do that, this late stage, is no mean feat. Standout. Phenomenal. And I think overall for me, Dan, I mentioned at the top of the episode, the fact that not a lot happens in this, but yet you still come away satisfied, that in itself is a success.
Yeah.
Because in the first season, in every other series, they're jet setting, they're bouncing around through time, they've got set pieces. In this, yes, they do go to different places, but it's really only a couple of different states in America.
Yeah.
And only 2 or 3 different timelines, and that's it.
You're not all over the universe, you're not on different planets. It was just simplified.
The most we see is actually McDonald's.
Yeah.
And to go through that, and the majority takes place in TVA, and you come away still going, that was great, wasn't dull, wasn't boring. That for me is success, and I really enjoyed it because it just goes to show just how rich the storytelling was. Phenomenal.
I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode as well. As I say, that really sort of set the stakes quite high. I mean, it sort of goes a bit downhill from there with regards to the stakes, but actually,
yeah, totally.
Just brilliant. What an opener.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it to be that exciting. Not for an episode 1.
Has no right to be. And I think it's almost film-esque in the way it's been delivered. The right cliffhangers, done the right way, with the right amount of emotion, and the script work is just second to none. That is film quality.
Yeah.
Through and through. I don't think there's any weak link, really, in that series. Retrospectively, I might think some things are off, but from today, I think it all works and hangs very, very well. Aesthetically, the TVA still looks great, and it's like it's retro 40s, 50s style.
Oh, yeah.
Colour scheme and architecture. Miss Minutes being a maniac.
Oh, man. It still haunts me, that picture.
Rogue AI still around. Who'd have thought that post Ultron?
That image of her as everyone's getting crushed, it still is so... It's just disturbing.
Yeah, because something is always jovial, is taking so much glee from something quite hideous. And it is. You don't see it off screen, but the crunching and the squelching, and suddenly it just goes quiet, and you're like, oh, they're now a cube of meat.
Everyone looks... I mean, whoever's left is horrified at what's going on, but Miss Minutes just looking on gleefully. It's just...
But that's all CGI, Dan.
Villainous.
All CGI, all portrayed, all acted by CGI, and it's just... It's great in its sick nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my favourites for sure.
Dislikes? I did struggle a little bit. So I just said we're still led to believe that he who remains is dangerous. We're still yet to see it. Although, recapping over the episodes where you highlighted, that moment where he always knew the outcome, actually, I've changed my mind a little bit on that dislike.
Oh. Is that a good thing?
That's a good thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you said that he always knew what that outcome was going to be. Even though he dies, he still knows that, what's going to happen. And
he it's very, very clever. I mean, for me, the only weak part of this, contrary to what I just said about 25 seconds ago, was probably Renslayer. I think they could have fleshed it out just a little bit about, her history with Kang and how in the past she was his right-hand person through the conquering and through the onslaught and from all of that. and you see aspects where he stood in the window at the end of time before he does her dirty. But that's it, and it'd be quite nice to see kind of what Kang did post that point, you know, when he waged war on time and on the various different branches. I think it'd be quite nice to see even gratuitous kind of action scenes with the variants of the Avengers. You could have him kicking the shit out of them, and Renslayer behind him, like commanding armies, like in the battlefield. And you could say that tonally they don't need that, and I don't think they did, by the way. But what I'm saying is, just to say that she felt compelled to be his right-hand person, and she was there up until the end, and then he was like, "Nah, don't want you no more. I'm going to keep Miss Minutes." I just thought was a bit odd. Like, at least show us how she got her hands dirty and how she was like his general, is what it's implying. But we don't get that, and maybe we will in Secret Wars or whatever, if it ends up being Majors and Kang still. But I would have liked to see more of that.
I suppose it's like Ragnarok, isn't it? We always see a bit of the past of Hela with Odin and
that's all you need.
Just a snippet.
20 seconds. I mean, she doesn't even get that. 20 seconds of slow motion, her killing, or
Captain America, you know.
Yeah, like I think that would have been cool to do, but just to say, oh, she was by his side, and she was supporting him. Fine, but then why, and how far did she, and how much was she complicit? Because she doesn't remember.
Yeah, just to tease, you know, how dangerous her and Kang are.
Exactly, because at the minute you just think, oh, well, she's a tag-along. She's infatuated by what he will become. And I don't know, I think that was a missed opportunity. I wouldn't say it's a massive dislike, but it did bother me a little bit, because we're supposed to see her as the competing baddie. She's not evil through and through, but nonetheless she's always there with Mobius and with Loki. And you just think, all right, but why? What's compelling her? What has she done before that has justified her staying alive in the prime timeline TVA, and not because she knows too much. She knows too much. So for him to go, no, I'm not going to get rid of you. I'm going to send you back and still put you back into TVA. That obviously shows that he values her. But then my question is why? And I think that's a big gap for me that I think they should have filled to some extent.
We might get it in the future. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I think it's just one of those little things. Just to flesh that character out. And
I think so.
Just to show Kang is the next big bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose we never really got that with Thanos. He'd sort of flit in and out, and he'd be like, right, fine, I'm doing it myself, and gets the gauntlet and all
3 years later.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
It is.
So, just want to talk about viewership. See a lot of comments on social media these days going, oh, wow, the MCU died with Endgame.
No.
Let me prove you wrong, listener. On October the 9th, 2023, Disney Plus revealed that Ouroboros
had
10.9 million views worldwide in its first 3 days of release.
Wowzers.
This was the second most watched season premiere of the streaming service in 2023, behind the third season of The Mandalorian, which was popular.
Yeah.
According to the streaming aggregator Just Watch, Loki was the most watched television series across all platforms in the United States during the week of October the 9th to the 15th this year. So you're telling me the MCU's dead?
Figures say otherwise.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments. I know I hate to go back to the Marvels, but you know, you can listen to those episodes.
Yeah.
Before this.
Link in the description below.
I've seen a few people say, "Oh, do you know what? I was really against watching that film, but actually, it's quite good."
Same. Well, we said that so much, didn't we?
I mean, we didn't really go with high hopes, given how up and down the phase 4 and 5 have been. But actually, it was really good.
It's all the incels who haven't seen it, or in their mum's basement. I said in the last episode, just writing bad reviews, and have you even given it a chance? And that's what's happened. And yeah. But to going back to your point, Dan, I think this does prove that actually there's still quality out there, and Phase 5, it might be limping, it might be smarting from some dull beats and some missteps, but ultimately I think you're right, it does show that the MCU still has some life in it.
I think we'll be talking about it next year anyway. See what the future is for the MCU. Just recap on a few things and see what's happening going forward. But
what's going on?
Is it dead? I don't think so.
No.
It's going to be interesting for sure. It's been an interesting year, I think. You know, this year we had Guardians 3, which is phenomenal.
Really good.
The Marvels, you know, a mid-tier cosmic adventure.
It does what it needs to do.
Loki, which has been brilliant. And we've got What If coming up
That looks
next week.
phenomenal. Yeah. The time recording.
Once a day up until Christmas. I'm really looking forward to that. It looks brilliant because I loved season 1.
Is it once a day or once a week?
I think it's once a day.
Oh, wow.
I think we get an episode every day, yeah.
Aren't we being spoiled?
Very excited.
Yeah.
And then I think we've got X-Men 97 next year.
Yeah.
I want to say it's January, but I might be wrong. But we'll see.
A late present.
What's the review aggregator saying, Alex? What's Rotten Tomatoes got?
Reports an 82% approval rating with an average rating of 7.35, a specific out of 10, based on 164 reviews. Now, the critical consensus reads, Loki's dizzying, dazzling second season may rely on the sleight of hand to distract from its slightly less satisfying storyline. Disagree. But the end result still contains enough that old Marvel magic to entertain. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned a score of 65 out of 100, based on 23 critics indicating generally positive reviews. I think that one's a little bit lackluster. I'd also challenge some of the critical consensus, but it's fresh, it's good, and it's been well received.
There we go. Still life in the old girl.
I think so.
On to the listener. Just the one this week, Alex. We've got Lead, who got involved with the Marvels.
Oh, yeah.
Just one word. We asked what people's thoughts were on Loki Season 2. He just put glorious. Very apt.
Very much so. Good summary.
And that's it. That is our roundup of Loki Season 2. What's coming up next?
Where are we? So we're going to have our year-end wrap-up.
We do.
Our first annual OTT Awards.
Looking forward to that. I've started compiling my lists.
I think I have to.
I haven't finished mine yet. Got to give it some thought. As I mentioned earlier, I need to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer just to see if they do make the lists, because obviously they were the most talked about films in the summer.
Yep.
We've got our Christmas Day message, our annual Christmas Day message. So if you don't want to listen to King Charles, you can listen to our sultry voices.
Oh yeah, that's going to be good.
Most anticipated 2024.
As we go into January.
One of our favourite episodes. One of our favourite annual episodes where we talk about things that we're looking forward to. So films, TV, books, games, just anything in general. I think 2021 we had quite an interesting one, didn't we? Obviously with COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of people were writing in and telling us, you know, just normal things they're looking forward to. Like
yeah, from there.
Going back to a football game or getting married. Whatever it is, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, what are you going to be up to in 24?
And then just to fuck everyone's heads up, life simulation theory to really kick things off.
Yeah, mid-Jan, we're going back down that rabbit hole. And not as everything is as it seems, Dan.
No.
We might be, it's 50-50, whether we or not we are living in a simulation.
You briefly discussed this with me over a couple of beers while we were watching Mission Impossible 7.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago now. And you explained about a woman in her car driving up to a crossroads.
Oh, this is great.
And she stopped, bawled her eyes out, went into, was it a petrol station?
It was a petrol station.
Went into a petrol station and said, I've just seen myself die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to diving down that rabbit hole because it sounds messed up.
That is a bit of a jarring story, and I'll share all, but it's really interesting, and it makes you think, have we done this before? Are we the first iteration? Have humans evolved to a point where they have made an alternate reality, and are we that version of that reality, a bit like a Russian doll? Which version are we? And at some point we are going to make it. So are we a version of a version of a version that have made it, and we're going to make another one, and it goes down the rabbit hole further? And
of course it ties into previous episodes, like the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect does come into it. Shows whether actually there is issues in the writing and the processing power can't keep up.
And in some aspects, it sort of ties into some of the paranormal stuff we talked about with Dan and Andy back in the Halloween episode.
It's fascinating stuff, and as you say, it touches a number of different topics we've talked about in the past. So yeah, we are going to mess things up for everyone in a new year in a nice way, and make you think.
Yeah,
which is always fun.
If you want to get in touch, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads at On The Topic Pod, and of course there is Gmail, which is onthetopicpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to send us a voice message, if you follow any of those socials, there is a link to podcast. Is it Spotify?
Spotify for podcasts, yeah.
It used to be Anchor.
It did.
But you can leave us a voice message to get involved, like some of our previous listeners. And Alex, we've got YouTube and WordPress.
Yep, ontopicpodcast.wordpress.com. We release some bonus content on there. And likes, I think I'll do a most recent post based on this little black, yellow and blue friend of mine now on my desk, adorning
fulfilled
my desk.
30 years of her today.
Yeah, it's a big defining moment, and Dan got a big hug. I'll reveal all in a post in the coming days. All you've got to do is go on there, have a look, and we've got all of our back catalogue from the weekly roundup days. Subscribe to our newsletter and be notified when an episode drops or a new post, or on YouTube at OTTGITS, getting the C of course, or On Topic Podcast. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can also stream us there as well, and plenty of you do, so thank you for doing that. Again, we're not quite sure what you're up to. Perhaps you're cooking, or you've got it on the background whilst you're working. Whatever you're doing though, keep on doing it. But it's really important, hit that subscribe button and give us some feedback. Add some comments onto videos. Let us know what you like, dislike. Get involved, interact, and of course you can then feature as part of this show. Just type us some comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, if you're on Spotify as well, give us a rating. It helps the algorithms. It helps other people find us. And
it also tells us kind of what you're enjoying, because we've always said, even from the beginning, 5 years ago, crikey now, this is your podcast, your views. If you don't like something, or conversely, if you say, this is great, I love more of this stuff, let us know. We want so many of our favourite episodes actually come from listener recommendations.
It has.
We want more of it. So do let us know. It's really important. No, everyone's asking for your time, listener, and everyone's asking for your feedback. And I know it can be tiring, but just a comment under a video or send us a quick message on the social media, it really is helping us, and we really do appreciate everything that you guys give us. So please do, because it's so important.
We've seen our Spotify Wrapped as well, and there's a few people out there that we fit into their top 10. It blows my mind.
It's great. It's
even
such
if
a
you
great
just listen to one episode, it means a lot to us.
Yeah. So thank you for listening, and if you like it, let us know. We'll give you more.
Yeah. That's it for another week. We'll be back next week for the OTT Awards. I'm very excited. I might bring some champers with me so we can celebrate.
Yeah, man.
And for this week, I'm going to go into the end of time and sit there by my own. I've been Dan.
And apparently I'm going to be turned into spaghetti. I'm Alex.
We'll see you next time.
How do you plead?
Madam, a god doesn't plead. And I am burdened with glorious purpose.